Excuse me. Sorry. Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. It is Sunday, February 6th, 2022. It's the first Sunday in February, and normally today would be Super Bowl Sunday, but because of the NFL changing their schedule to add an extra week of the regular season, the Super Bowl will now be pushed back to next week, the 13th, the day before Valentine's Day. So how about that? Kind of interesting. First time ever that it's really been that late, I believe. So instead, we get the Pro Bowl. I'm not going to watch the Pro Bowl because Pro Bowl is boring. But that's just me. But they need to have some sort of all-star game, I suppose, for the NFL players. So voila. So how's everybody doing today? I'm doing okay. It's been a up and down week, I should say. Almost named this episode Mixed Bag, because it was a mixed bag, but instead I decided to go with the comment section because we're going to talk a little bit about that. Another weather system that weathermen were freaking out about turns out to be nothing. Maybe it's time for a change. I'll explore that a little bit. Some anniversaries. What the hell is that? Oh, okay. I know what that is. Boba Fett review. Some summer stuff, some Valentine's Day stuff, some St. Patrick's Day stuff. We have our Super Bowl matchup prep to talk about Super Bowl being next week. We have the matchup. I'll tell you who that is. We have retirement finally. We've got another death, a pretty big size one from 2022, and a big one in the world of comics. Netflix released their amazing video of their upcoming slate of movies, and they're going way out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I mean, not in a bad way, in a good way. So that's fine like that. We're going to do some Easter stuff as well. David Lynch has a new job, but it's not what you think it is. The groundhog. We have the groundhog. See what he says. We finally figure out what that Schwarzenegger Zeus thing is. Awards ceremonies or award nominees time has come. So we'll talk a little bit about those as well. New type of Skittles. But hey, for once, there's no new Mountain Dew nor no new Pop-Tarts. So, but we do have a interesting new style of charcoal. And we'll cover that very soon too. So let's talk about this week. I'll start with the weathermen. Look, it's been with climate change and all that stuff. The weather has been unpredictable, and weather has always been unpredictable even before climate change has occurred. But most of the time, the meteorologists were pretty spot on, pretty close. But sometimes they were off by a little bit, and that's to be expected when it comes to how these systems work, because there's really no way to quantify how they're going to move or do whatever. In this case, lately, over the past couple years, we've had meteorologists hyping up big stuff to hit, and then nothing happens. And I think I have a suggestion for them. But here's the thing about a lot of the meteorologists: if you call them on their bullshit, they get really defensive about doing things. And I guess, it is kind of a dick move to call them on something that's unpredictable. But still, when you keep pushing, I'm right, this is going to happen, and then it doesn't happen, and you're like, oh, wow, why are you all yelling at me? Because you were hyping it up to be much bigger than it was. People actually listen to you. And some people say, you know what, I'm going to just, you say it's going to snow really heavy around 10 o'clock. I'm not going to go into work because I don't want to get stuck in the snow. So you call out from work and then nothing happens. And then, hey, you just lost a sick day or vacation day. That's happened a few times as well. I'm sure it's going to keep happening. I don't know. But it's just they are putting too much into the models. That's the big thing I've been noticing lately, is that there's 3 or 4 different types of models which they look at that show how the storms are going to go. And all these models are different. This is all their prediction, what they think is going to happen. And sometimes they align. And usually when all 3 align, it's usually right. But sometimes when you have those models that are going to be separated by, one model says this, one model says this, one model says this, it's going to be like, well, it's not going to be together. But when all three are just like, yeah, this is going to happen, then you can take it to the bank and then you can start, pushing it and stuff like that. And I think also whether I need to start considering that there are other actions at work now. Now, the big thing this week was, again, it was a Thursday, Friday sort of thing. Now, I miscalculated stuff because when I started talking about this earlier last week about the potential for another, snowy, icy sort of storm. I mean, the snow icon showed up on my weather app for Friday. And so I thought what was going to happen was that, and then I saw that the temperature for Wednesday and Thursday, for Thursday and Friday was going to be in the 50s. I was like, why is there a snow icon on the on Friday? Because it's in the 50s. You're not going to get snow in the 50s. It's scientifically impossible to get snow when it's 50 degrees out. And so Saturday has a high of like 30. So, okay, I can understand that. So then my thought was, okay, maybe the cold air is going to come through late Friday night and we're going to get snow then. It's going to go into Saturday like that. But then I discovered that I was apparently wrong. They said that the temperature is going to drop a lot more quickly Thursday into Friday, and that the high temperature of 50 some on Friday is going to be reached at like midnight, which doesn't make any sense to me why that would be the high temperature for the day when it just turned to that day. It doesn't make any sense to me. You would think, the high temperature would be somewhere in the middle. So if the high temperature was going to be, like this, you just pick a time, 2 o'clock. That's 2, 3 o'clock. That's about the time the sun's been out long enough. And that's the warmest part of the day. That's the temperature you take a look at as your high temperature. Not, oh, well, the 50 is going to be, at midnight. That's why it's the high temperature on your weather app. No, make it at 2 o'clock. It's going to be 40 some degrees at 2 o'clock, 30 some degrees, 2 o'clock. Tell us, let us know. And then we can, decide that. But to me, I see that 50 on Friday with snow. I was like, that's not going to snow till Friday night. And then they started saying, well, yeah, what's going to happen is the temperature is going to drop dramatically, but it is going to be rainy on Thursday and it's going to be really, really warm. And then the temperature is going to go up overnight into Friday. And then this is what they were saying now. And then the temperature is going to start dropping dramatically by morning. And you're going to have ice on the streets and it could, have a problem for schools because the rain is still going to be there and it's going to turn to a sleet, icy sort of freezing rain. And I was like, that just doesn't seem right to me because the temperature keeps, and I kept looking at my weather app. It had it being the 50s all the way till about 8 a.m. And then it started going down after like 9, 10 a.m. And even then it didn't reach the coldest point. The coldest point that my app had was around 9 o'clock at night and it was 35 degrees, which is still above freezing, which means there's going to be no ice whatsoever. Again, it's scientifically impossible to have ice above 32 degrees. And even then, even though 32 degrees is the freezing point of water, that's the rain coming down could be like the icy freezing rain. But when it hits the ground's still going to be warm from the rain, the previous rain, and the sun. It's going to take and the warmth from the last 24 hours. So it's going to create it just not be an ice issue. It's eventually it will, because once the cold rain and the temperature starts dropping, the ground is going to start getting cold and you're going to get your ice then. So they keep saying, yeah, it's going to be, could be, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. is when it could be, really bad, icy, slick, could close schools and stuff like that. And I'm still like, I don't believe it because they've been wrong almost every week this year so far. So I just went about my day. Again, they were saying like right around the rush hour time on Friday morning, it's going to be icy. When I left for work on Friday morning at 6:30, it was 58 degrees out. But at that time, they're all saying, well, no, it's the ice storm is slowing down, so it's going to come later in the day, but it is going to come. It's now Sunday. We did not get any ice whatsoever. Temperature did drop, yes, but we got zero ice the whole day. And they kept saying, you're going to get ice. You're going to get ice. It's going to be ice in the Northwest area, which is where I'm from. You're going to get icing on the roads. It's going to be bad. Be careful. Didn't happen. Did not happen. Did it happen further south? I don't know. I honestly really don't know. I didn't pay much attention because I was paying attention to my area. They were saying our area was going to get hit with freezing rain and ice early Friday morning. It did not happen. The temperature started dropping probably around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So by the time I left work about 3:45, 4 o'clock, it was about 30 some degrees at that point. But again, the rain had stopped at that point. So there was no rain going to be coming. So there was no way you're going to get any freezing on it, except for maybe the dampness on the roads. But even then, the ground was still warm from the warm temperature, and there wasn't any consistent cold stuff hitting it to keep building up the cold weather on the to make it into an icy thing. So again, we didn't get any icing. Now the meteorologists keep screaming, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. That's what the models say. Well, you're paying a little bit too much attention to the models. The same thing happened last year where they were saying you're going to get a bunch of snow, early in the morning on this one day, and it was again right after a warmish sort of day, and it's like, okay, and so you're going to get a lot of snow. You're going to get a lot of snow. It's going to be like, 6 to 10 inches of snow. It's going to be crazy. I think we got maybe an inch of that. And eventually he's like, well, we miscalculated the fact that the upper air was a lot warmer than was predicted in the model. So all the cold that was supposed to be up there turned it more into a light, fluffy sort of snow and didn't, give us the intensity. It was sort of more of a rainy sort of event. Well, maybe you should have thought about that. I mean, yeah, you're not going to hit every angle, but you also have to consider everything that's gone around you before. It was 50 some degrees the day before. So wouldn't the air upstairs still be a little bit warm from that? It's not like it's going to change dramatically. It's just the models that they are so stuck on are the ones that are seemingly to be the ones that are causing them issues. Now, the thing is with the models, eventually they get it right. Like a lot of the stuff they were saying that these areas down the south or whatever are going to get hit hardest with snow and stuff like that. And the upper areas aren't going to get much of anything. So you can make sort of a case for that. But here's the thing, last week we had this, nor'easter sort of off the coast. And they said, well, if it goes one way or another, the difference is going to be between 1 to 3 and 6 to 12 inches in your area, meaning Reisterstown. So then they started saying, okay, it's going to be about 1 to 3 inches. We got a dusting, if that, not even 1 inch, not even 2 inches, not even 3 inches. We got nothing out of it. But the models kept saying, you're going to get some snow. It's not going to be a lot. Down south is going to get more. They were right about that because that's obvious. The storm's there and it's pumping in the stuff. And it became a big blizzard and it came up the coast. It got worse as it got over colder water. But they were still saying 1 to 3 inches in my area, and we didn't get anything. If that, we got a dusting or something like that, or just flurries. It wasn't even anything. So I think they need to start not saying the models are gospel, that the models are always right, that this is what the model says, and these are the 3 different models, and this is the one I'm picking that I think is going to happen from what my investigation has proven. And it turns out to be not true. And in some cases, all 3 models are wrong also. I think in this case, all 3 models were expecting icy sort of conditions for our area early in the morning on Friday, and it didn't happen. I mean, it was variations on it. That's why when I said before is that when it lines up exactly how it's supposed to be, that's when you can say, okay, it's probably going to happen. But these all had sort of, some slight variations in between the stuff, So this one said, okay, you're going to get ice, but it's going to be this much, and it's going to start this time. This one says, you're going to get ice, but it's going to be at this time. It's going to start this time. And this one says, yeah, it's going to be ice, but you're just going to start this time. It's going to be this much. So they need to figure out some sort of new model, and they need to start, putting into the fact that, the climate is getting warmer. And that could, trigger other stuff to happen. And, the basis of other stuff as well. There's just a lot of different things that they need to do. So for the remaining of this year, I don't know if I'm going to fully listen to the meteorologists unless I get a general take that everyone seems to be aligned with the same thing. And then even then it'll be like a wait and see thing, because there have been times where they might have been aligned on something, but it wasn't exactly what they were expecting. So just something I wanted to bring out there. This weekend's been busy for my wife and kids. Their scouting stuff. They had their scouting dinner last night and their court of honor. And then today they had Scout Sunday where they help out at a church service. Dinner was nice. We had good food. Someone had brought a really good brisket. Chick-fil-A, for the first time ever, they donated about 65 chicken sandwiches for free, so that was good. And it was good. It was a good day. It was a good weekend. Last week I was sort of pushing this. About 29 years ago, myself, my friend Pat Gibbs, and my friend Eric Magnuson, all in college, we took a filmmaking course in our junior year. They make it 1993. And we, as our final project for the class, you had to make a film, short 6-minute sort of film. you had to come up with a story. You had to, film it. You had to edit it, and you had to present it at the film festival that we have every year, where people are allowed to come in and watch the films and stuff like that. We won an audience award for our movie because our film teacher was usually like artistic filmmaker type guy. He's the type of guy that would make artistic pictures, and not like any sort of linear sort of storylines. It would just be art for art's sake, filming weird, wild, crazy stuff with no linear storylines, stuff like that. Just a bunch of art, just moving picture art, which is fine. That's what part of cinema is. But there's also a part of cinema, which is we want a story and we want to have some fun with it. So me, Pat, and Eric, we were of that mindset. We said, we want to do something fun. Now, our campus at college, Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania, is filled with squirrels. And we thought, hey, why don't we make a monster movie with squirrels? Now, we couldn't train a squirrel on our campus to go after our friends. So we went to the local mall, and they had a toy store. Remember toy stores? They're not around anymore. We bought a stuffed squirrel, which we named Rabies. And we decided, we hired a bunch of our friends. Didn't pay them, but they wanted to just do it as a favor to us because they were our friends. And they got to do some crazy stuff over a weekend. And so did we do it during the week? We may have during the week too. No, I don't think we did during the week because there wasn't a lot of other people around. I think it was on the weekend. Or it might have been both. I don't remember. It's been 29 years, so please forgive me. And we made this fun film about a giant stuffed squirrel attacking our friends. And then we had the last 3 scenes were the filmmakers, me, Pat, and Eric, dying. And we each filmed each other's stuff. And we each filmed bits and pieces of the movie. And we edited bits and pieces of it. So there's a lot of stuff that I filmed in there. There's a lot of stuff Pat filmed. There's a lot of stuff Eric filmed. And I wrote the narration for it. And so we had a blast. We had a little trouble with the editing, but in the end, it was a happy mistake. It turned out to actually be kind of funny, add a little bit of a comedy element that we weren't expecting. After we graduated, Pat took the what do you call that? The 6mm film or whatever that is with him, and I was fine with that. I wasn't going to do anything with it, and it was fine with that. So that was that. And so flash forward, I don't know, I guess it was 2009, 2010, something like that. Because we still at my old building where my job used to be at my old building before we moved to our new building. We moved to the new building in 2011. So it was somewhere between 2011 and 2011 and 2007. So, because that was the time frame. I think it was like 2009 is when I got a surprise on Halloween. Pat said, "Hey, I posted our squirrel movie on YouTube. It's under Albright College Squirrels. If you type that in there, you'll find our movie, the original version." I say that because it became a big view, and I watched it all the time, and I post it periodically and stuff like that. So fast forward to a couple weeks ago. I get a DM from Pat saying, "Hey, there was a band that I know named Storm the Castle who wants to," I showed them the squirrel movie, and they want to use the squirrel movie for the next video." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." The fact that he asked me and Eric that's cool. So I was like, "Okay, that's absolutely fine." This band is from Edinburgh, Scotland, and I think Pat had met them in Seattle where he lives. And when he went over to Edinburgh, Scotland, he hung out with them a little bit more there. I think that's when he might have actually showed him the squirrel movie. I don't know. But they got the movie redigitized, and Storm the Castle edited it to fit their song Ragnar, and they released their official music video last Sunday. So I was doing my show on Saturday night, and I gave the tease for it last Saturday, and it came out early Sunday morning, since Edinburgh is about 5 or 6 hours different from us. So it looks really good. So now if you want to see their edit of the Squirrel movie, you type in Ragnar or by Storm the Castle. You're going to need to put Storm the Castle in there because Ragnar was the character's name in the Vikings TV show. And so you see all the videos of him in there. So if you're like Ragnar by Storm the Castle, it'll pop up there. So it's really good. It's very entertaining music. It's a little bit different than expected. And actually the Squirrel movie fits their video. Now, the band is a band that uses those types of artistic things for all their videos. They make their own videos, or they borrow other people's and use it for their videos. And it adds, a kind of ethereal sort of quality to their stuff. So very cool, very good stuff. So check it out. Ragnar by Storm the Castle or Albright College Squirrels. And you'll see Ragnar will have the edited version. They edited down to 2 minutes and 43 seconds. The Albright College Squirrels movie is about 6 minutes long. So there's a bunch of stuff that they did not put in their video, but in the end, it worked out. So hooray. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier in the show, today should have been Super Bowl Sunday because it's usually the first Sunday in February when the Super Bowl is. However, as I said, due to the NFL expanding their their regular season to an extra week, and you still need to put all the playoffs in, they moved the Super Bowl back a week. So you're going to have this from now on because this 17-week season is going to be a regular thing. So start seeing Super Bowl on, next year will be the 12th. And then it gets to a little gray area. Then maybe the 10th or like the 14th, something like that, depending on the skip of the day or whatever. So, but regardless, I can probably find out now for sure. So let me see when in 2024. Okay, 2024. Yeah, it'd be the 11th. Okay, so it'll be the 11th in 2024. Is it ever going to fall on Valentine's Day? 9th, 8th. Yep. In 2027, the Super Bowl will be on Valentine's Day. All right. So that's pretty cool. That's kind of funny. I think it's funny. But yeah, so 2027, we'll have the Valentine's Day Super Bowl. So I think it's in Vegas that year. It's perfect. You go with your Valentine to Super Bowl and you go get married. Anyway, but we do have a Super Bowl lineup now, a matchup, and it's actually one that I'm okay with. It's the surprise Who Dey Cincinnati Bengals versus the Los Angeles Rams, who were in it a couple years ago and lost to the Chiefs, I think, 2 years ago. So it's the second year in a row where the location of the Super Bowl happens to be the home stadium of one of the teams playing in the Super Bowl. Last year, the Super Bowl was in Tampa, and Tampa went to the Super Bowl, and they won that one. This year, Los Angeles has the Super Bowl in the Rams' home stadium. So the Rams are basically having another home game. So 2 years. So this is Super Bowl 56. So 54 previous Super Bowls, the teams in the Super Bowls were not playing in their home stadium. And then in the span of 2 years, Super Bowl 55, Super Bowl 56, the home team, one of the teams in the Super Bowl is playing in their home stadium. So it was bound to happen eventually because they only have a limited area that they can do the Super Bowl. They're not going to put the Super Bowl in the cold weather stuff unless it's a dome, because the Super Bowl is really not a game for regular people to attend, hence the price tags for like the cheap seats is like $1,000 a seat, not for two people. It's, you could get those cheap seats probably for $100 during the regular season. Maybe not that much, maybe 200, but still it's way different. And besides, most people watch it on TV anyway. So, you've got, Las Vegas, they could, a couple years when they hosted, the Raiders might be in that one then, and you've got the Lions, which is probably not going to happen anytime soon. You got the Vikings, they got a dome stadium also. You got Arizona next year, it's in Arizona. So if the Cardinals have a good year, they could be, the third straight one. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's just me. And then, of course, you have all the California ones. You've got the LA one, you've got San Francisco's, stadium. Then you've got all the Florida ones, all the Texas ones. And that's, I don't think they're going to do anything like in Carolina because that's a little too far north for them. But you got New Orleans and you've got all the Miami, all the Florida ones. Atlanta's got theirs also. They've had the Super Bowl there before. So, and then, as I said, all the Texas ones and any other domes. I think the Indianapolis has a dome maybe, so they could get one as well. So it is what it is. And they never had one in Seattle. And I guess that's, again, an unpredictable sort of weather system. So you're not sure if you're going to get it or not. Now, if San Diego still had a team, you could have also used their stadium too, but San Diego doesn't have a team anymore. So, I mean, you could still probably use the stadium if you wanted to, but that would be a more neutral site than, say, a home stadium for a regular team. But no, I'm not in charge of that. So Bengals, Rams, I will give my predictions and stuff like that on next week's show. Next week's show is already sort of lined up pretty good. It'll be my Superman. It used to be when I used to have guests, when I was able to do guests, me and MJ Khan, who did comic books with me, my show, we would always do our Man Day show because Man Day was always, it's always like today might actually be Man Day. It's like the first Sunday in February because that's when the Super Bowl used to be. So we would do our Man Day show and it was always about the Super Bowl. And we'd have we talk about comics. We'd also have a discussion about the Super Bowl and stuff like that. So, so next week I've already got it lined up as we've got the Super Bowl. And next week also, since I'm already segueing there and it's on a different page here, the Oscars. Academy Awards, that time of the year again. February 8th, which is Tuesday, will be the nominations for the Academy Awards. So next week I will have the Academy Award nominations for you as well as the my predictions on the Super Bowl. So I've already got those two things lined up already for next week. So that should be good. Along those lines, BAFTA, which is the British Academy Awards, they did their nominations. The only things that I know of right now, the only thing that they've shown us without doing a deep dive into their nominations, that maybe I should do that, but their best pictures are, their nominees for best pictures are Belfast, Don't Look Up, Dune, Licorice Pizza, and The Power of the Dog. So pretty good. And then I know that Luca, the Pixar film, is up for best animated film as well. So let me just see, may as well, since I'm here, let me just check and see if I can get a list of all the BAFTA stuff to give you a general idea of what we may be seeing in the Academy Awards. Now, the Academy Awards have 10 nominees for Best Picture, and people are hoping that Spider-Man No Way Home is going to make its way in there. I don't think it is, but the fact that Dune is there might be a good sign that you're going to have at least one sort of normal person favorite film sort of thing. So the nominees are, okay. All right, they have something called the Rising Star Award, and the nominees for that are Millicent Simmons, Lashana Lynch, Ariana DeBose, Cody Smith McPhee, and Harris Dickinson. I don't know what films they were for. That's just the names of it. Best Actress nominees are Tessa Thompson for Passing, Lady Gaga for House of Gucci, Alana Haim for Licorice Pizza, Renee Siv for The Worst Person in the World, Joanna Scanlon for After Love, and Amelia Jones for Coda. Best Film, I already gave you those. Best British Film, After Love, Last Night in Soho, House of Gucci, Everybody's Talking About Jamie, Belfast, Ali and Ava, Boiling Point, Cyrano, Passing, No Time to Die. Ooh, a Bond one. British short animation, Do Not Feed the Pigeons, Night of the Living Dread, Affairs of the Heart, Art. Debut British writer, director, or producer, Posey Dixon for Beverly Glenn Copeland Story, Keyboard Fantasies, James Cummings, Boiling Point, The Bullets, The Harder They Fall, Aleem Khan for After Love, Hester Ruoff for Boiling Point, Liv Proctor for Keyboard Fantasies, The Beverly Glenn Copeland Stories, and Rebecca Hall for Passing. Best short film, Stuffed, Femme, The Black Cop, Three Meetings of the Extraordinary Committee, The Palace. Best direction, Jane Campion, Power of the Dog, Audrey Dewan for Happening, Ryusuke Hamaguchi for Drive My Car, Alem Khan for After Love, Julia Ducournau for Titane, and Paul Thomas Anderson for Licorice Pizza. Best casting, Dune, The Hand of God, Boiling Point, West Side Story, King Richard. Best documentary, Flea, Cal, Summer of Soul, The Rescue, Becoming Cousteau. Film not in the English language, Drive My Car, The Hand of God, The Worst Person in the World, Parallel Mothers, Petite Maman. Best adapted screenplay, The Lost Daughter, Dune, Drive My Car, Power of the Dog, and Coda. Best original screenplay, Don't Look Up, Being the Ricardos, Belfast, Licorice Pizza, King Richard. Best actor, Benedict Cumberbatch for The Power of the Dog, Mahershala Ali for Swan Song, Adil Akhtar for Ali and Ava, Leonardo DiCaprio for Don't Look Up, Will Smith for King Richard, Stephen Graham for Boiling Point, special visual effects, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Dune, The Matrix Resurrections, Free Guy, No Time to Die. Best supporting actress, Ariana DeBose, Jessie Buckley, Ariana DeBose for West Side Story, Jessie Buckley for The Lost Daughter, Ruth Negga for Passing, Anjanou Ellis for King Richard, Catriona Balfe for Belfast, and Ann Dowd for Mass. Best animated film, Encanto, Luca, Flea, The Mitchells versus the Machines. Okay, that's pretty good. Best original score, French Dispatch, Don't Look Up, Dune, Being the Ricardos, The Power of the Dog. Best supporting actor, Troy Kotsur, Woody Norman. Troy Kotsur for Coda, Woody Norman for Come On, Come On, Cody Smith-McPhee for The Power of the Dog, Cherian Hines for Belfast, Mike Faced for West Side Story, Jesse Plemons for The Power of the Dog. Best editing, Elliot Graham for No Time to Die, Tom Cross for No Time to Die, Andy Jurgensen for Licorice Pizza, Unani Dongwali for Belfast, Joshua L. Pearson for Summer of Soul, Joe Walker for Dune. So that's all the nominees for that. So there's some ones that I could possibly see Academy Award getting picked up on those as well. So what's probably is most is Don't Look Up, because I've heard a lot of people don't like that one. But what do I know? So we'll find out for sure, and you'll have the Academy Awards announced next week by me. Some anniversaries. One personal one for me was Diamond Comic Distributors, where I worked at for about 4 to 5 years, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. It was not a bad place to work. I enjoyed it. I'm a comic book guy. It was a way to get my comic book stuff, and my work life, combined. Worked with some cool people. It was rough because it was customer service, so you were getting yelled at and screamed at and cursed out a lot, and lost your cool every once in a while. And also, they manager, stuff like that, had you doing a bunch of stupid stuff that we really probably didn't need to do. Like, one of the things we had to do is we had to call up our accounts, which, in essence, it makes sense. When their order was placed for the month, we had to call up our accounts when there were some inaccuracies. Like, they have all their, orders for, like, say, Spider-Man from the last year or so lined up, and, and they tend to be the same. So, like, they ordered, say, 500 copies, every time. And then this month they ordered 1,000. They just wanted us to be sure. Hey, did you mean to order 1,000? Because you normally order 500. And if you look at it, it's like, well, yeah, it's like issue 800, and it's a big thing is going to happen. And I've heard, new creative team, whatever. So it was always kind of a waste of time. Like, yeah, it is. I very rarely found anything wrong with the calls I made. And in the end, I took some shortcuts. I just copied their stuff and I sent them emails like, is this correct? Is this correct? Is this correct? And they responded to me. It was a lot easier doing it that way than calling people up. And then they wanted us to sell stuff, even though we had a sales staff to do things as well. But it was still entertaining. Sticking with comic books, it's the 35th anniversary of Justice League #1, written by Keith Giffen, James DeMatteis, with art by Kevin McGuire and Al Gordon. And it was an iconic sort of reimagining of the Justice League with Kevin McGuire's oft homaged cover, making its round and making it instead of a typical superhero sort of story, it was more of a sitcom sort of superhero story. So another brilliant thing. I still have that issue too. The Ravens president of operations, Dick Cass, who's been with the team since they came to Baltimore in 1996, has announced his retirement this year. So he will no longer be the president of the Ravens operation. So he is the patriarch of the Ravens, is what everybody's been calling him. So congratulations to you, Dick Cass. Finally, it is official. Tom Brady has officially come out and said he is retiring. Last week, we talked about how he may or may not be retiring. And I thought he wasn't going to announce his retirement until maybe this weekend because he was due $15 million if he waited till March 4th to announce his retirement. But I guess once that got out, he was just like, well, if I announce my retirement after that, they're just going to say, you just waited to get the money. Instead of just, because people were already talking about it last weekend. And so he's like, well, they sort of jumped the gun on that and sort of made me have to decide that I'm going to lose $15 million or look like the biggest schmuck in the world, which you already do, to be honest, Tom. But, it wouldn't be unusual for me to expect you to announce it this weekend. But instead, you decide to, jump everybody's expectations and you officially announced your retirement. Now, I hate the guy in general for a lot of different reasons, but as a football fan, you do have to recognize what he accomplished in his 22 years as quarterback. And so I'll give him credit for that. But there's a lot more to the story than that, but I'm not going to go there. It's going to be an interesting in 2027 again. Hey, look at that. Valentine's Day is going to have the Super Bowl. And it's also going to be when they announce the Hall of Fame nominee or the people going to the Hall of Fame. So it's going to be Ben Roethlisberger and Tom, first ballot Hall of Famers right there. And then whoever else has been retiring over. There's a lot of big names retiring now. So we'll see. I think Eric Weddle might. He came back in. He's going to play in the Super Bowl, and then he's trying to retire again. So he might be up there too. What should we do next? I'm just trying to figure out where I want to go before I get into some more stuff. Okay, the Olympic Games are going on this week in China, and there've been a lot of news about the press people in America and other countries saying we're not going to send press people over because of the just the regime of China that is just so suffocating when it comes to newspaper people and reporters and stuff like that. Well, we got proof of that this week. The Olympics start on the 3rd, I believe, and a Dutch journalist who was doing a report from the Winter Olympics, don't know what he was talking about when this happened, but gets interrupted in the middle of a live shot and grabbed by some Chinese soldiers and taken away. So hopefully he's okay and nothing bad is happening to him. But that's still kind of a scary sort of thing. And also kind of a reason why we are not sending really a lot of media people over there or political people over there because of that regime. So kind of scary, but yeah. Cinnamon Toast Crunch seems to be the most popular thing nowadays. The Cinnamon Toast Crunch coffee creamer is actually really, really good. They have a Cinnamon Toast Crunch milk out now, ice cream, everything like that. Well, now get ready for Cinnamon Toast Crunch cinnamon rolls from Pillsbury. Pillsbury does the Grands one, so now you can get a Cinnamon Toast Crunch cinnamon roll grand style thing like that. So that's pretty cool. And also Betty Crocker, where is that? Betty Crocker has a new baking line devoted to Cinnamon Toast Crunch that includes pancakes, icing, frosting, icing, whatever, and cookies. All Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavored stuff. So pretty soon we're probably going to get Cinnamon Toast Crunch soda. Well, wouldn't surprise me. They've already got cinnamon stuff out there as well. Time to talk about that holiday called St. Patrick's Day. The only St. Patrick's Day story I have this week is the mint brown blizzard from DQ, which is going to be, I guess, a mint chocolate sort of brownie a mint brownie sort of flavored Blizzard will be coming in time for St. Patrick's Day to compete with the McDonald's Shamrock Shake and stuff like that. So, more power to you. Mint stuff in general. I mean, I don't mind like just straight up mints that I suck on, but like mint chocolate, mint ice cream like that sort of makes my stomach sort of churn and want to vomit a little bit. But oh well. So that's pretty cool. Seriously, let's talk about the next holiday after that. The big holiday coming up really soon, Easter. Peeps, which are always, a big thing that happens around the Easter time, has for the first time ever are releasing Peeps Gummies. So gummies, I guess, that taste like Peeps or look like Peeps, but are gummy flavored. And also there's another one around here, another Peep story. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's a like sparkly wild berry flavored Peep is coming out just in time for Easter as well. So I can't find it right now, but it's coming. It is coming. So once I find it, I will go over that. So you got that as well. So you got a new flavor of Peeps coming, and so on and so forth. Trix is releasing fruit snacks. I figured since we're talking about fruit stuff, so you can have fruit snacks that taste like Trix. So you got that coming up. Starburst, which has, according to my wife, the greatest jelly beans of all time, and they also do those little chewy candies in the middle, are also releasing lollipops now that are going to be like the Tootsie Rolls. It's lollipop on the outside, but on the inside you're going to have the chewy Starburst middle. So you've got that as well. Zero G Skittles is a new thing coming out as well. Okay, I was just, what the hell is that? I know what that is. Okay, Zero G Skittles. It's only going to have blue and purple flavored, or looking, I should colored, Skittles to look like the galaxy, which is weird for blue and purple, but that they're coming as well very soon. Funfetti jelly beans are a thing that's coming up really soon too. I guess in time for Easter. Jelly beans are good for their Easter thing. So you got that as well. Lucky Charms pancake mix with marshmallows is also on its way as well. So it seems to be a big thing to do with pancakes, to mix them with cereal stuff. And yeah, I think that might be all the food stuff that I had here. I figure I may as well just hit all of them while I can. Cheetos cheddar jalapeno popcorn is going to be coming very, very soon. So that's a thing also. Now I should have done, I'm sorry, Bomb Pops, the red, white, and blue, sort of ice cream, not ice cream, like popsicles you can get around summertime, or really anytime, I guess, is going to be releasing a Nerds flavor with the Nerds colors, like pink, purple, and whatever, and those flavors. So you got that coming up too. So yeah, some interesting stuff rolling through here in a little bit. Yeah, there is Sparkly Wild Berry Peeps. Okay, boom, knock that out too. Now, I should have done this when I was talking about the Super Bowl, but I'm going to do it again. Now, last week I said Larry Johnson was predicting that San Francisco was going to win because the Illuminati wanted them to win. Well, guess what, Larry Johnson? You were wrong. San Francisco did not win and are not going to Super Bowl. The Los Angeles Rams are. So Larry Johnson decided to double down on his predictions, and he's now saying Larry Johnson says the Bengals advanced to the Super Bowl because actress Regina King, who is a Cincinnati native, sacrificed her own son. Now, this is kind of a cold-hearted thing to say, considering Regina King's son committed suicide a few days before the Cincinnati Bengals championship game. And to say that and to bring that up is just not a cool thing to do. And as you know, of course, is absolute bullshit as well. Don't know whatever happened to Larry Johnson. He used to be a pretty good running back, but I guess, the whole CTE stuff about, concussions and stuff like that causing brain damage is actually turning out to be maybe pretty true. So we'll see what his predictions are later on, but that was just a cold-blooded, horrible thing to do, to bring up a tragedy that literally just happened a few days before the Bengals championship game and say that the reason why the Bengals won is because her son died and that she killed him. And that is absolutely terrible and awful. So I figure since we're talking about terrible and awful stuff, I may as well discuss my big issue and why today's episode is called The Comment Section. I guess about 45 minutes into the show, it makes a good time. I wanted to, have some fun, more interesting things to do before I talk about this thing. Now, look, I'm a human. I'm not infallible. I'm not perfect. I've never said I was perfect. And I make mistakes. Sometimes they're dumb mistakes. Sometimes I forget things. Sometimes I don't think about what I'm doing. I see something in my mind. It's like, oh, that's a great idea. So twice this week, I made comments on, it might actually have been the same, comic book resources releases stuff every day, multiple stuff every day. And it's not just info about comic books or movies. It's about all kinds of stuff also. And I released, and I made two comments that were wrong this week. And I'm going to show you a night and day sort of situation. So earlier in the week, people were talking about the movie The Lost World, Steven Spielberg's sequel to Jurassic Park, which is, to me, is god-awful. The book itself is really, really good, but the movie itself was god-awful. And the main reason, there's a bunch of reasons why the gymnastic girl knocking out a raptor was ridiculous. And the real point of it was the end sequence with a Tyrannosaurus Rex running loose in San Diego. And honestly, that's mildly racist scene also where a bunch of Japanese businessmen are running away from the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which is a joke about Godzilla. I get it, but it was kind of a slightly racist sort of take on things. And I don't like the movie. I never have. There's a few really good scenes in it, but in the end, in general, the whole full thing, not a big fan of it. And my point when I made my comment was I didn't like the ending because the ending has a boat silently run into the San Diego wharf, and then a Tyrannosaurus Rex comes running out and starts attacking the city. And everybody on board the ship has been killed. So how on earth did the Tyrannosaurus Rex pilot a boat from Costa Rica to San Diego if he killed everybody? Now, did he kill everybody right off the bat? Probably not. But about halfway through his time there, he could have, killed everybody. And how wouldn't have lost track or course? Or did the T-Rex just wait till, the person piloted and there was no SOS or anything like that? So, and you'd think something like that would destroy the boat also if it was attacking people and eating them. So it made no sense to me. Now, what I had forgotten was that the T-Rex had been captured by a group of military people or whatever and was carried on board the boat unconscious. And then he woke up from his medical thing, whatever, his drugging or whatever, and he went and ran amok and killed everybody. And then the boat miraculously made its way to San Diego. We're supposed to go, and then he came out and attacked San Diego. And I even forget, how did he get defeated? I don't even remember how he got defeated. So, because that's how memorable the movie is. So I made the comment that he had snuck on board the boat because I forgot that he was carried on board by the military. I thought that the whole point of it was he snuck on board the ship and then killed everybody on there, and it made its way to the wharf. Now, somebody in the comments after I wrote that wrote "snuck on board?" ? And I started thinking about it. I was like, wait a second. So I went to Wikipedia and I read the description of the movie again to refresh my memory. And then right there, plain as day, military drugs the Tyrannosaurus, takes him on board. It wasn't mean about it. I just said "snuck on board?" ? He wasn't a dick about it. He just asked the question. And I realized I was wrong, so I deleted my comment. End of story. That was easy. I made a mistake. No, I'm not going to go, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. No, I'm just going to delete it. I made a mistake. I don't need to have the last word or mea culpa or whatever. I made a mistake. So flash forward to Wednesday or Thursday. I can't remember. One of those 2 days. And there was a story about Julie Andrews. And I had said if they had done an American reboot of Harry Potter, there's your McGonagall. Right away, you can see where I made my mistake. Julie Andrews is not American. She's actually British. And I had forgotten that for whatever reason. I don't know. I just always pictured Julie Andrews as being American. I don't know. It's not because I'm a stupid American and I think Americans are better than Europeans or whatever. I made a mistake and I said something wrong. And then some a-hole responded to it like, something like along like Julie Andrews, the American actress or something like that. And I didn't grasp the sarcasm, but you can't really do sarcasm in the comments. So when I saw that, I thought he was just being, kind of he didn't read the comment. He didn't see everything. He just saw me say Julie Andrews and McGonagall. I wrote in cap letters because that kind of pissed me off. It's like I didn't think he read my thing. I said my American movie, and maybe I egged him on a little bit. It wasn't my intent. I was just trying to say, hey, you misread it, and I was just bringing the emphasis to it, saying I said American film remake, and then he goes and he attacks me. He's like, I guess my sarcasm went over your pea brain-sized head, you flatulating muppet, or some bullshit like that. She's English or some bullshit like that. And I was like, okay, you didn't need to be rude about it, but I didn't respond to it. So then again, it sort of hit me then. It's like, yeah, he's right about it. So I went and double checked again, Wikipedia, and yeah, she was an English actress. So I made a mistake, but this guy just attacks me, and he's from England. So maybe he was being defensive of Julie Andrews, but that doesn't make it right. And I made a simple mistake. I'm a human being. Yes, I had a brain fart, or whatever you want to call it. And I'll gladly admit that I made the wrong assumption. I made the wrong decision. But I'm a human. I make mistakes. But it just seems that, and this isn't the first time. I mean, that's why everybody tells you do not read the comment section, because behind their online persona, they can do and say stuff that they would not probably say straight to your face. So I went to this guy's Facebook page just to see, maybe block him or whatever for being a dick about stuff. And he has this picture of him and his son. Is like, I wanted to write so bad, man, you must be a really good role model for your son being a dick online sort of thing. I didn't want to do that, but I didn't want to exasperate the stuff. So I just ignored it. I didn't delete my comment because I didn't want him to see that he had won and beaten me on this, because I was already pissed off about that. So it made the rest of the day kind of pissy for me. And then of course, every little thing pissed me off. After that point, this is about like 2:00, 3:00 in the afternoon. So it was like right as I was getting ready to leave from work. So, the people driving home were pissing me off. And then when I got home, my son not coming to the door and giving me a hug like he does to his mother when she comes home, and walking in the house and seeing that my cat had pooped on the floor again. And he pointed out, I was like, oh yeah, the cat pooped on the floor. It's like, why didn't you pick it up? That pissed me off also. So I had to do that as well. I showed him how to do it. You grab a paper towel, you wipe it up. I know it's disgusting, but do it and you throw it in the garbage. That's it. And just other stuff was just pissing me off for the rest of that day. I think it was probably Wednesday. I think about it. No, because I got comics that day. So it wasn't that. So it was Thursday. It was Thursday when that happened. So just, you didn't have to be a dick about it. I mean, the guy who corrected me on Lost World was not a dick about it. He said, snuck in. ? It wasn't done sarcastically. He didn't say, hey, you dumb fuck asshole. He never snuck in. He was tranquilized by the military. What kind of movie were you watching? What are you, mourning? Did you even watch the movie? Blah, blah, blah. He didn't say that. He said, snuck in. And that made me think, it's like, okay, wait a second. Maybe I misremembered it. So I checked and I misremembered it and I deleted it. He wasn't a dick about it. Didn't respond to anything. Didn't say anything about that. So there are people who can be good. And then this asshole, from England, again, maybe he's overprotective of Julie Andrews, but it's still no reason to call me names for a simple mistake I made. And I've been noticing that on other stuff also. I didn't comment on this one Facebook page where somebody said something wrong in their comment or whatever, and he called them a brainless paramecium or something like that. It was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And it's the whole, anonymity behind online stuff. That's one of the reasons why, many reasons why we are in the situations we're in now, is because people can come out and be racist and be sexist and be assholes and say terrible things online. But if someone actually came to them personally and went straight to their face, they wouldn't say that shit to them. The guys who, threaten women with, I'm going to find you and I'm going to rape you blind and, anally, destroy you and pull your hair until you scream and all this bullshit. If that woman came up to them and said, "What's up, man?" They're not going to say that shit to her, because that's not their end. In the world of anonymity, they can be, as strong and powerful, that their horrible lives, aren't allowing them to be. Their real life, they are probably miserable little pieces of shit who can't get dates or girlfriends or whatever. And so they decide to try to show off how strong and smart and powerful they are by saying and doing stupid things. And it fucks them up. Now, what's beginning to happen now also is these same sort of people who think who are not very smart and hate being called stupid and moronic and dumb are the ones who are, saying you need to take, horse dewormer to, fight COVID. That's fucking, insane, ridiculous. But because, there are politicians who are saying you can do that now, it makes them feel smart. It's like, you just go ahead and do that. You'll be fine. You don't need to get vaxxed. And it's like, no, you're a fucking idiot. So that was why it's called the comment section. So I'm not going to read the comment section anymore. I'm really probably not going to comment too much on things, because I'm human. And look, I'm getting older. Maybe I'm forgetting things. I don't really think much about Julie Andrews. I don't know why I had the brain fart thinking she was American when I knew she was British, her Mary Poppins and, other stuff as well. Sound of Music. She was English. I should have remembered that. I should have known that. But for whatever reason, I just picture her as being American, maybe because Sound of Music and, Mary Poppins and Princess Diaries, stuff like that are all sort of like American-made movies, So I don't know. I mean, look, Dick Van Dyke, he is not English as far as I know, but he was in Mary Poppins with an English Cockney accent. So obviously, there's something to that. And Disney was the one that made Mary Poppins. So that's an American sort of institute as well. So maybe that was where my mind was. I'm wrong. I should have remembered that she actually is British, because I knew that, but I forgot it. I had a brain fart. I hadn't seen The Lost. I watched it maybe once, maybe twice, because I didn't like it. And so it's been forever since I've seen it, but I just remember certain things. So maybe I misremembered. I know I misremembered because I found out I was wrong. But the difference is tone. The one guy was like, "Snuck in." It was a question. It wasn't being a dick about it. He wasn't being sarcastic. He was saying, "Snuck in." It's like, what? What are you talking about? What mood you see? And so I went and researched it, and I was wrong, and I deleted my thing. And when they saw that I deleted, they're probably like, okay, he figured it out, and then moved on with their lives. They didn't care, Meanwhile, this guy is probably, showing this tweet, showing my comment to all of his buddies. Hey, look at this fucking guy that I made fun of. He's not even commenting on it. What a dick. He's so stupid. Look at him. He's such a motherfucking idiot, shithead, geeky, stupid American asshole, Trumper fan, blah, blah, blah. And he can just suck my dick for all I care. But at this point, I'm not going to go any further. I deleted the notifications on it, so I have no idea if anybody else has responded to it. And probably all of his buddies are on there calling me, all kinds of names because I'm a fucking idiot and stuff like that. I made a simple mistake, God forbid if you ever make a mistake, and you ever get, yelled at in the comments, see how you react, you dumb fuck. So I'm done with my little rant there, but that pissed me off immensely. So that was my day. And that's why I decided to name this episode The Comment Section. Something else that kind of is, don't get me wrong, I'm loving it, but the Book of Boba Fett, for the second week in a row, has a startling lack of Boba Fett in it. And that's 2 episodes of 7 or 8. So that's not quite half, but it's at least a fourth of the episodes don't have Boba Fett in it. Now, don't get me wrong. It's fun to see what's going on with the Mandalorian. And we even get, in this episode, we get Baby Yoda, and we get to see his training with, de-aged Luke Skywalker. and we have Ahsoka Tano shows up in there as well to make some comments, and then we get the biggest surprise, a spoiler alert, Cad Bane from the Clone Wars makes his live action debut in this episode. We also look back to Timmy Oliphant's character from the previous season of The Mandalorian. We get to see what he's going on with that. So it's been, the last two episodes have basically been, we're postponing this, Book of Boba Fett to bring you a 2-part Mandalorian episode to set up the new Mandalorian series that's going to come out probably by the end of the year. And, it was, nice to see that, but it's called the Book of Boba Fett. I want to see what Boba Fett's plan is. And I think there's only one more episode. I think this is the final episode of the show coming up, and it's going to be a big battle, because it did end with sort of like a Godfather-esque sort of thing where the bad guy group that's going up against Boba Fett attacked his buddy, played by Timmy Oliphant, and then attacked the club that's run by Jennifer Beals. So it's going to turn into an attack on things and a bloodbath. And the other thing that I found kind of dickish, and it had Luke training Grogu, and then the Mandalorian delivering his little suit of armor for him, but not allowed to see him. Ahsoka took it to Luke, and then Luke gave it to Grogu and said, "Here's what the Mandalorian gave you, but before you take it, here's your lightsaber. Here's a lightsaber you can use to practice. You have to decide which one you want." I think I saw a meme somewhere that someone says only the Sith deal in absolutes. So it's an absolute. You have to choose either one or the other. You can't do both, and that's not really the Jedi way to be, personally. I believe. Now, as I said last week, it looked like that Grogu grabs a yellow lightsaber, so he might just stay a Jedi and not pop up as in the chainmail suit or whatever. But we'll see what happens and how they go. But so far, I find that the lack of Boba Fett in the Boba Fett show, and this choice, set up by Luke, is sort of the only really bad things I've noticed recently about this new Disney Plus, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Star Wars time. Those are the only two things I've really had an issue with right now. And considering, as I said, that next week is the final episode, we'll see what happens. If you wanted to do this, you should have just called it Tatooine, and you could have focused on Boba Fett, and you could have had this bit with Mandalorian and then whatever. But in the end, that's not what they decided to do. So we'll see how it all wraps up in the end and stuff like that. But good news is this has not been officially announced, but a number of sites that are not rumor mongering sites that Rotten Tomatoes and a few others that are in the know a little bit. They are predicting, they believe that Kenobi is going to have a premiere in May. Now, the reason why I think they're saying this now is I believe that what next Sunday is. Next Sunday is the Super Bowl. You're going to have your Super Bowl commercials, which are always a big thing to do. And that's when a lot of companies reveal, trailers for movies that are coming out later in the year, or in this case, TV shows and stuff like that. I am almost going to bet that you're going to see the first real Kenobi trailer come out during the Super Bowl. And at the end, it'll have coming May 30th, May. Let's see what could be some potential landing spots for it. Let's go back to the calendar app, because we know Moon Knight's coming in March. So it's coming March 30th. So that's when Moon Knight's going to come. So if it's going to be 6 episodes, that's one episode. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That puts it up to May 3rd. I'm sorry, May 4th. Which is funny that the final episode of Moon Knight will be May the 4th, when that should be the first episode of Ben Kenobi. But we're not going to go there. Unless they do 2 episodes of Moon Knight. See, that's what they might do. Because think about this. If they do 2 episodes of Moon Knight on the 30th. So then you have 2 episodes on the 30th, and then you have one on the 6th of April, one on the 13th of April, one on the 20th of April, and the finale on April 27th. That would then open up May the 4th, a Wednesday, to do Kenobi. That would be absolutely perfect timing. So if they're going to release 2 episodes of Moon Knight, that's the only way they can do it, is they release 2 episodes of Moon Knight on the 30th, which they might do. They did that with Hawkeye, so they might do that. May the 4th would probably be the absolute best time to drop Kenobi. But I just noticed something else here. If you don't want to do that, if you want to give it a little bit more time for visual effects or whatever, let's look at down the other Wednesdays in May. May 11th, May 18th, May 25th. Yeah. May 25th is when Star Wars debuted in movie theaters in 1977. So now you have 2 dates, potentially, you could put Kenobi on in May. May the 4th, May the 25th. To be honest, May the 25th is probably the better one because that is really the date that Star Wars started. And Kenobi played a big part in that. Now, May the 4th is just May the 4th be with you, which is kind of stupid. It's a play on the May the 4th be with you. But that's the only, there is no Star Wars stuff that came out on May the 4th. All the Star Wars stuff has come out in that May 23rd through 26th range, including May 25th, the movies-wise anyway. Until they got to the newer ones when you had to rearrange some stuff. But that's besides the point. That was in December, but still, that's a different thing. But in this case, if they do decide to go with Kenobi in May, you've got 2 potential dates. It could be May the 4th, May the 25th. You could do both. The only way you could do that is to have Moon Knight be 2 episodes on March 30th. Then you have Kenobi start on May 4th. Or you just do Moon Knight as regular, and that takes it to May 4th, and that gives you a window of about 2 weeks where there's going to be nothing on. And then 25th, you introduce Kenobi to the world. So I am almost betting that next Sunday we will find that out on the Super Bowl. So we'll talk Super Bowl commercials in 2 weeks when we see them. So there's that. Where did I? Oh, yeah, there it is right there. Okay. Switching gears slightly. Those who know me know that David Lynch is one of my favorite directors of all time. He's a director of Wild at Heart and the original Dune, Elephant Man, Blue Velvet, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, just to name a few. The Straight Story, stuff like that. And he's also known for his work on Twin Peaks, which is one of my favorite shows of all time. And he's a director that I like to emulate. If I was a director, there's lots of stuff I'd like to use. I love how he sets up angles and camera shots, stuff like that. So it's kind of surprising. David Lynch has put himself in his Twin Peaks for a few times as FBI agent Gordon Cole. Supervisor, actually, is like the FBI head FBI guy, Gordon Cole. So he's been in, he's acted before. So it's kind of surprising when this week they announced that David Lynch has been cast in Spielberg's personal film, The Fabelmans. Now, for those who don't know, The Fabelmans is the story that Spielberg wrote and is directing presently, which is basically a story about his life growing up. It's going to be a little bit of a different tone and style from Spielberg. You're expecting these big budget sort of, either musicals or fantasy, sci-fi sort of things, or these, he's done the stuff, like Catch Me If You Can and stuff like that. But most of his pictures are, you expect to be big. Empire of the Sun is one that wasn't quite as, big as you thought it would be, and bombastic. And Always is another one that you didn't think was going to be quite as big and bombastic. But he's done, the Indiana Jones trilogy and E.T. and all those, and Hook and stuff like that. So you expect bombastic, big things from him. This is a much more personal story, much how like E.T. was, but this is more based in a reality. About his life, and the fact that they're adding David Lynch as a cast member and not director is interesting and telling at the same time, and it'd be kind of interesting to see what role he's playing and how he's going to fit into stuff and do stuff like that. The new trend around the area now, or around around streaming, stuff like that, is reboots and updates of shows. We had CSI have a reboot this past fall with William Peterson and Georgia Foxx come back and reprise their roles that they played for so many years. And there's been, Saved by the Bell and Punky Brewster and all these, other, reboots of shows. Twin Peaks had one a few years ago, stuff like that. Well, the next one, and Quantum Leap has got one coming up soon. So the next one we have is Criminal Minds reboot is coming back. It's always been a hugely popular show, and it went out on top, still had good ratings, stuff like that. but they were done. But they have decided they want to do a sort of a reboot sort of thing because it's the trend now. Dexter's done pretty good with that stuff. I think it's for Paramount Plus, I believe. And they have rehired six of the fan favorite people, including Joe Mantegna, Aisha Taylor, Paget Brewster, and more. So a bunch of your favorites from Criminal Minds will be reprising their roles on the reboot of that. This past Friday, the Pokemon Company released their new video game to the Switch, which is a first ever open world Pokemon game, which is a little bit different than the ones that they've been doing before. This one goes all the way to the past with the beginning of the hunting for Pokemon, when Pokemon were still wild creatures and people didn't know what they were, and they fashioned the first Pokeballs and stuff like that. It's the game is called Arceus, because Arceus is the one that created the Pokemon world. So they have created this open world game where you can do this stuff. I bought it for my wife for Valentine's Day. It'll actually be here tomorrow from Amazon, so she'll get it on Valentine's Day. And it looks pretty good, and I want to play it. It's called Pokemon Legends Arceus. And this weekend, it came out this past weekend. Oh, no, it came out last weekend, not this past weekend. It came out and then end of January, I'm sorry. So in the first week of its sales, it made $6.5 million. It sold 6.5 million copies of it. That's at a $50 cost, that's close to $300 million they made on Arceus. So pretty impressive on that end. So got to give them credit for that. But yeah, so time to talk about that holiday that's coming up. And this time, I just mentioned it, Valentine's Day is coming up. Build-A-Bear has decided that they want to try something different. Normally, when you think of a Build-A-Bear, you think of a place that makes teddy bears for kids. You get to, and they are able to get like licensed ones, so you can make Star Wars ones and Stranger Things ones and Pokemon ones, stuff like that. And the people who run Build-A-Bear recognize that, while yes, it's mostly made for kids, kids are not the only ones that buy them. Guys buy them for their girlfriends. Maybe girlfriends buy them for their guys. Wives buy them for the husbands. Husbands buy them for their wives. I think I bought my wife Captain Marvel one once. So they decided to jump on that, and they decided to make like a after dark line of Build-A-Bears for grown-ups. Now it's not like, as far as I know, I don't think it's like anything like uber sexy, but I mean, you have a potential for like a smoking jacket sort of thing for a male bear, and like a pipe and stuff like that. And I think the females might have sort of like kind of a mesh sort of dressy thing. Like, so it's kind of, it's geared more towards adults, and it is a for Valentine's Day sort of thing. Hey, you want to get something unique for your Valentine, get her one of these like adult style bears. Again, it's not overly adult. There's not like, and they're not anatomically correct, and there's not like sexy outfits. It's just, it's a bit, the clothing and the setup is more for adults to buy it for their significant others, that type of thing. So, excuse me, just stretch here. I got a long way to go because I've been talking a lot about stuff I still got. And this might be around a 2-hour one, so I'm going to keep going. A kid fronted Star Wars series set during the High Republic is in development from Disney Plus. Now, Star Trek's Prodigy animated show, which is geared more towards kids, is doing gangbusters in the ratings. And even regular Trekker fans who have who aren't kids but like everything Star Trek have been watching it and have talked about how good it is. I think someone described it as Clone Wars for Star Trek, but it starts off as like a Star Wars, Clone Wars sort of imitation, but eventually as the series progresses, it's able to mold it into a Star Trek style series. And that's a really neat critique of it. I haven't watched it because it's only available on Paramount Plus or something like that. And but I guess Disney saw that and said a kid-fronted Star Wars High Republic series might actually, we are a kid company for the most part, and, you'll get the Star Wars fans who are going to want to watch it. But if we can get, set it before the whole Star Wars stuff happened, the High Republic, when the Jedis were all the rage and peace was going on and stuff like that. The Empire was just a smoldering little fire. It wasn't really anything big, and it was just how the Republic was, controlling things and not wiping out, but controlling and keeping the laws intact, stuff like that. To have a kid-fronted show about that fits the Disney Plus mold. So we'll see that actually come to fruition, and I think it going to be connected to that show, The Acolyte, which has already started casting. I mentioned that a couple weeks ago, and they're going to start filming that soon. So it's going to be sort of a connection. So you're still going to get that connection, but it's not going to be geared more towards the grown-up Star Wars fans. It's going to be one for younger kids. But at the same time, it'll be good for grown-ups to watch also. And hell, I'll probably watch it too when it comes out. September 2nd, I don't know if this was announced when this was first came out, but September 2nd is the date that the Lord of the Rings show will premiere on Amazon Prime. They have some new posters up with it that has the new date on it. So I don't know if that's was common knowledge at the time when they first announced this, but that's the date that I got today. Speaking of Disney Plus and doing shows, they're just going bonkers, and I'm getting ready to talk about Netflix here in a second and how bonkers they're going. But Disney Plus has also greenlit a new Goosebumps series. Now, before you go, ooh, that's awesome. Goosebumps is not going to be an anthology like the original Goosebumps was, where it was like a Twilight Zone for kids. This one is actually going to more follow the Jack Black sort of movie, which I think the premise of the TV show is going to be a group of kids who live in this town, discover that there are evil forces around and they have to stop to fight them, which in itself sounds like a really cool idea. And the reason why they're putting the Goosebumps tag on it is probably because they're going to be using the Goosebumps characters, like the talking dummy, and much like like the movie that came out, which is actually absolutely brilliant. The movie was absolutely fantastic, and I enjoyed it immensely. So I hadn't seen the sequel, but I like the first one, so that's good. So we're going to see that come up soon. Before we get to Netflix stuff, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, I'm going to cover a few more things. Franco, who is a comic book writer who wrote the Tiny Titans, which is a fantastic story, and has written the Adventures of the Super Pets and stuff like that. He's on a roll. He's writing a 13-chapter Dead Man Tells Spooky Tales anthology comic. Dead Man is one of my favorite DC characters. He's a spirit who can inhabit people's bodies and control them for limited amounts of time. And some people can see him, others can't, but they know he's around. And to have Franco being involved with writing stories for, I'm sure it's going to be like a Halloween thing, but 13 stories with different artists that Dead Man is going to be narrating. I don't think Dead Man's going to be in the stories, or he might be, but he's going to be narrating them. And I think that's a really kind of a neat idea. I'm going to cover the deaths real quick, and then I'm going to hit this big Netflix drop that we just had. And I'm not, since it's getting late, this is going to take a long time, so I'm just going to hit the stuff that I remember. But there's a lot of stuff come with that, and then I'll hit the rest of my stuff. So yeah, we're probably going to go about 2 hours today. So buckle up. So deaths. The big death this week, the 2022 Strikes Back death, is Howard Hessman. He played Johnny Fever on WKRP in Cincinnati. He was also the FBI agent in Clue, which is a fantastic movie. He also did a show called Head of the Class, and he's a character actor that's been in a bunch of films and movies, one of which I have, which is probably a story for another time, but Private Lessons was a softcore porno film that he starred in with Sylvia Christel about a nanny who teaches her teenage son, the teenage boy she's watching, the ways of sex. And Howard Hessman was sort of the evil butler who was trying to get him in trouble with the family and stuff like that. It was softcore pornography, and I watched it when I was young. It was like sort of one of my introductions to the world of sex and stuff like that. So that's one thing I'm always going to remember about Howard Hessman. So TMI, but whatever. He was the age of 81. The Birdsman, South Florida radio personality Tim Bird, died this week as well. There was a period in the 80s where it was all the rage to be a shock jock sort of thing. Howard Stern, the Grease Man, stuff like that. And the Birdman must have been the local version of that in Florida. Chelsea Knight, I guess, who was Miss USA 2019 and was a correspondent for the TV show Extra, is dead at the age of 30. She died of suicide. Suicide's always rough. Monica Vitti, a 90-year-old Italian actress who has been dubbed the queen of Italian cinema, died at the age of 90. Moses J. Misley, something like that. He was a Walking Dead actor, was on The Watchmen, and The Hunger Games Catching Fire. He died at the age of 31. Don't know how he died. I don't think that was suicide, but it might have been. I don't know. Argus Pig Robbins, country music piano player who played piano for a bunch of the big country music people in the 80s, died at the age of 84 this week. Richard Chrisman, a Chicago theater critic who was a fair and balanced critic. John Cusack was the one who brought this to everyone's attention on his Twitter feed. Is a guy that, Cusack started on Chicago theater, and he was always happy for Richard's criticisms of his role and his compliments as well, if there were issues. He died this week. Donald May, an actor of a movie called Edge of Night, dead at the age of 92 this week as well. And the big one in comics that I teased at the beginning of the show, Brian Augustine. He was an editor, mostly known for him bringing on Mark Waid onto The Flash. That turned The Flash into one of the biggest, hottest, most popular comics of all time during the 90s and early 2000s. And it brought forth the Speed Force and all kinds of crazy stuff. He also did editing for a bunch of other stuff as well. But he was also a writer. He wrote the series Black Condor. He wrote episodes of The Flash. He wrote novels based on Dragonlance, which is a D&D sort of thing. But he also wrote the indie book Crimson. But his big claim to fame as a writer was he wrote the first ever DC Elseworld story, which is also one of the greatest comic stories of all time. It's called Gotham by Gaslight. Brian Augustine was the writer. Mike Mignola, who I absolutely love, was the penciler, and I think P. Craig Russell or something like that was the inker. And it's Gotham by Gaslight has a place in my heart. I think it came out around Thanksgiving, and I bought it and I read it when I was at my Aunt Jane's house, and I had stomach virus from that Thanksgiving, but it helped me rereading it, and the artwork is fantastic. It's basically as what if Batman took on Jack the Ripper, and that's an outstanding story. But it was the first ever Elseworld story, and Brian Augustine was the one who wrote it. He also did a follow-up, which wasn't quite as good because it had, don't get me wrong, Edward Barreto did a great job on the artwork. I think he was the guy who did the artwork for it, but I was just so used to seeing Mike Mignola. I would have liked to see him come back, but that's just me. But yeah, Brian Augustine died this week as well, and that was kind of hard, especially for Mark Waid. Let me just get a few more things before I get to the Netflix, and that's going to take a little while, though. So I think I will cover all this, and then I will hit the Netflix stuff. The Schwarzenegger Zeus role that was teased on last week, there was someone else another actor that was poised as Poseidon. It was done the same form, and you figure it might be a thing they're doing together. I postulate it could be a Super Bowl commercial. It is. So you're going to see Arnold Schwarzenegger as Zeus in the Super Bowl commercials. The Washington football team has announced their new name and colors, stuff like that. Well, the color's still maroon and gold. But they are now the Washington Commanders, and it's a name that I particularly don't like too much, and apparently a lot of people don't like it. and everybody has been ragging on them. So, but I doubt it's going to change anytime soon because they've already got the patent on it. They've already printed off T-shirts and hats and stuff like that. And the fans eventually probably eat it up after it. But the Washington Commanders is now the team. So no longer the Redskins, no longer the Washington football team. They are the Washington Commanders. I don't like it, but that's just me. There have been a couple pilot orders from the CW. The Supernatural prequel gets a pilot order from the CW, and Gotham Knights gets a pilot order also from the CW. So those are going to be coming up soon. I did not know that this anthology series was actually in the works at AMC, but it is. But apparently there's going to be a Walking Dead, Tales of the Walking Dead anthology series, and the first casts of it some of the stories has popped up, and it's pretty good. Terry Crews of late of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Anthony Edwards from ER and Top Gun, and Parker Posey are the big names, with Poppy Lou and Jillian Bell, the other ones that were announced this week as well. So a couple of some big names there. So that's pretty interesting. February 2nd, Groundhog Day was this week, and the groundhog came out, saw a shadow, which means there's going to be 6 more weeks of winter. But again, on my rant about meteorologists earlier in the show, there's not much stock you can take into it. Winter is still only going to be 6 weeks more, and then it's going to be spring. So whatever. Armor Wars, the Don Cheadle series for Marvel, for Marvel for Disney Plus. This is going to start filming in October, though people believe it has a very small window for filming. So there's 2 ways you can look at it. One is they think that because there's a small window of filming for it, it means it's not going to be as bombastic and explosive as everybody is thinking it's going to be, with lots of clashes between armors and stuff like that. This will be more of a self-contained sort of like a Falcon Winter Soldier sort of storyline. But then you got to think about, because they're saying that it's only going to go from, the film is going to go from October, November. A 1 month window is really not a lot of time to film stuff if you're going to be doing some crazy stuff. But then you got to think about this then. The people in the armor that you see in the Marvel movies, the majority of when they're in their armor, majority of them are CGI. They don't actually have Robert Downey Jr. and John Cheadle and all that in the armor. It's CGI armor flying around doing stuff. So technically, if there's going to be a lot of Armor Wars actions and battles and stuff like that between different armors and stuff like that, you would think that there wouldn't be a lot of live action filming, because the majority of it's going to take place in these Iron Man type armors fighting each other, and that's going to all be CGI. So you can do voiceovers, you can do real quick shots of them in the helmets, like, oh my god, doing their lines, stuff like that, or they can do voiceovers, particularly you hear that when they're voiced through their suits of armor. So you can look at it in 2 different ways. So we'll see when it actually comes. But since it's not start filming till October of 2022, that means it ain't going to be out probably till October of 2023. So we still got a full almost year and a half to go before we actually see anything to do with Armor Wars, which is fine. There's nothing absolutely wrong with that. What else? There was something else that's also. Oh yeah, Loki season 2 is slated to start filming this year. People were didn't know exactly how that was going to work. But they didn't know when, because Disney really didn't say much about. They knew it was going to come. They just weren't giving any idea of the schedule. Well, now we have an idea of the schedule. It's going to start filming this summer, which means we're going to probably see Loki then sooner than later, which means films this summer. We will probably see it obviously before Armor Wars, and we'll probably see it early in 2023 probably. So there's that. There's good on that. Legends of Tomorrow, which is the CW superhero film show that does not die and should not be working, but it has cast Donald Faison as a role that sounds surprisingly like Booster Gold. I think Donald Faison is going to do an absolutely great job as that. He was in Clueless and with Scrubs, I think was the show he was in also. Don't quote me on that, because I don't want people to say, you stupid flatulating Muppet, you're wrong. Dakota Johnson, who is the daughter of Don Johnson and Melanie Griffith. Sorry, it took me a while to remember who she was, and was in those the sexy bondage films that were huge hits in the book market, but the movies were just okay. She was cast as Madam Web, which is a ancillary character in the Spider-Man comics to a Sony movie. Sony owns the rights to basically all Spider-Man's characters, so they were looking for characters that are unique and different, and now we have a Madam Web. Now in the comics, Madam Web is an ancient Aunt May looking older lady, so we don't know if this is going to be like an origin story for her or what, but she will be making an appearance in her own show coming up. Okay. Anything else? There's one other comic note. Dylan O'Brien looks like he's going to be offered the role of Nightwing in a series or a show or something like that. Not exactly sure, but he's a hugely popular kind of actor who happens to share my name. So, first name anyway. Spelled the same way, by the way. So we'll see about that. Ben Stiller says he wants to direct a sequel to Mystery Men. That was an interesting movie based on a Dark Horse comic. So this isn't comic related, but The House of Usher, the new Mike Flanagan horror film for Netflix, has started filming and actually is intriguing. They got a really interesting cast, and it's based on Edgar Allan Poe's story. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting take on things. Let's see, anything else of interest here that I can... I know what that is. I'm just going to rewrite it so that I can talk about that in a little bit. Yep, so I got some other stuff I'll talk about in a little bit. Yeah, so I guess it's time here with an hour and 30 minutes in to start talking about Netflix. Netflix released about a 3-minute commercial, I guess you could call it that, for all the movies that they've got coming out. I think they call it like there's a movie a week coming out from Netflix, a new film, and it includes a lot of their big name films that are probably going to be starting showing up later on in the year. We got the first footage of a lot of these things. So in this trailer, I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm just going to cover the ones that are big ones. You just look for it's like Netflix 2022 films and look for that on YouTube and you'll find the video for it. But the main things that stood out to me is that The Adam Project, which is a movie I'd heard about a little bit, but not too much about it. It's going to star Ryan Reynolds, Zoe Saldana, Jennifer Garner, Mark Ruffalo, and the story is a great idea for a story. And I think I want to watch it. Has Reynolds playing a time-traveling pilot who goes back in time and teams up with his younger self and his late father to take on aliens. So they've actually, that one's gotten a bit more of a jump on it, because I think it's going to come out before some of these other ones. I think Adam Project's coming out within the next month or two. So that might be one to take a look for during the time. The Gray Man's a movie I talked about last year when they announced it. The guys who directed Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, the Captain America Civil War, Captain America Winter Soldier, I can't think of their names right now. They are making a movie for Netflix called The Gray Man. And they reteam with Chris Evans, who's actually be playing the bad guy in the show, and Jake Gyllenhaal, who's playing the good guy. They are that movie was announced last year sometime, so they've been filming it, and we get our first look at some of that stuff. We got Jake Gyllenhaal. It looks like an action-packed, what you expect from the guys who directed those movies. It got Jake Gyllenhaal running on top of a subway that's getting blown up by like a tank or something like that, and Chris Evans in this awful mustache with his snarky Knives Out sort of persona in this computer sort of simulated room, having his looks like he's having the time of his life chewing stuff out. Speaking of Knives Out, you got your first look at the cast of Knives Out, and that's going to be taking place, it looks like, on a cruise boat or some sort of fancy boat, and that's where the story is going to take place. So you get your first look at that. That ain't coming out probably till the fall, but you got your first picture of the cast walking onto this boat, and then Daniel Craig's character, that it's Knives Out too. He's like looking at him and stuff like that. So that's interesting. Another one that's probably going to come out sooner than later that was talked about before, Jamie Foxx and his basically male version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer called Day Shift, where he plays a vampire hunter who hunts vampires during the day when they're sleeping, but then has to take them on at night. They got your first look at some of that, including a shot of him at night, just sort of looking scared. And then this vampiric hand comes up, grabs on the shoulder, and then twists him around. And this vampire comes like he's getting ready to attack him. So that was kind of interesting to look at that. Slumberland, which is one I think I talked about because it's going to have Jason Momoa starring as some sort of dream creature. It's like and they showed his first picture of it. He's got like fur and he's got like horns and stuff like that. And it looks like a really fantastic fantasy film. And you got a few more shots. There's one of the main characters, a little girl on her bed floating in the water with like an animated looking sort of rabbit sort of thing is in there as well. So that looks like that could be a lot of fun too. And again, it was one of those that I remember I talked about it a little bit, but I forgot, the idea about it. This is one I didn't even know about. There's going to be an action sort of film called The Mother, and the mother's played by J-Lo. And I was like, whoa, that's J-Lo. And there's a scene of her grabbing her daughter as she's driving a motorcycle, putting her on the motorcycle with her. So that's going to be kind of an action sort of film. So I didn't know about that one. Spiderhead has Chris Hemsworth in it. Now, it's not the sequel to the one film where he was the soldier of fortune type of guy that was also handled by the Russo brothers who did the Avengers stuff. They produced this movie with Chris Hemsworth that was a huge hit for Netflix last year. I forget what it's called, but this film Spiderhead doesn't look like it's the sequel. They announced there's going to be a sequel, but this one looks more like he's clean shaven, short haired, sort of Chris Hemsworth in a suit sort of thing, some sort of business thing like that. And they didn't really show much about that. I don't know much about that one. I didn't even know. I knew they were doing the sequel to that one show, to that one movie, but I didn't know they were doing this one. So that was intriguing to see that. Falling for Christmas. I mentioned this before also last year too. Lindsay Lohan is starting her trying to return into the film world. She's clean and sober now, and she's trying to get her career back online. She's got I think a commercial in the Super Bowl this year. So that's going to be the start of it. And then I talked to you about that. She was cast, and Netflix does like one big Christmas movie a year and then like an animated Christmas sort of movie also at the same time. The Christmas movie this year is called Falling for Christmas, and we get to see some first footage of that. Lindsay Lohan walking in the snow, and the name of it's called Falling for Christmas. So I don't know what that's about, but you get to see that. The School for Good and Evil, which appears to be based on the young adult kids series, had its, I didn't know they were doing a show or movie about that as well. And they showed some footage of that. It looks very Harry Potter-esque. And it looks like, and I'm not 100% sure, I may as well look it up now, but it looks like my girl Charlize Theron, who's also going to get her, Old Guard sequel coming out also from Netflix, might be in this show, movie, whatever it is as well. So let me just see if it's in her filmography to make sure that I'm not seeing things. Because it looked a hell of a lot like Charlize Theron, one of the characters did, and even sounded like her a little bit. So let me just see if that's come on, let's get some filmography, Resurgence. No. Let me just see. I've got that already. Let's see down here. Yep. It was announced in February 2021 that she will be playing Lady Lesso in an upcoming film, The School for Good and Evil. So I called it. So yeah, so she's in that as well. So that's another one that I'm going to need to start looking at Netflix a little bit more and say, whoa, I need to check this stuff out. So we got that one coming out. Looks good. Here's one. I haven't seen the first one, but I kind of was interested in it when I saw it. But Enola Holmes 2 with the girl Millie Brown from Stranger Things, and Superman himself. What's his face? The guy who's the Witcher also. As Sherlock Holmes, her brother. They showed some footage of that, of the sequel to that, coming out this year too. Adam Sandler. I gotta find this. What is? I can't think of his name. Let me just look up. So, because I keep wanting to say it's Kevin Hart. Okay, that's what it is. You'll see what I mean by that in a second. Okay. So Adam Sandler was like the first, and I've given him his cred for this. Adam Sandler was the first person to really take a look at Netflix when it first started, becoming this powerhouse in streaming, and said, you know what? I can make movies pretty cheaply, and they make usually good money when I show them. But his career sort of gone down a little bit. He hasn't had too many successful films in the movie theater in a while. And he said, well, it's because streaming is probably the next level thing, and Netflix is willing to offer me a multi-picture deal. I get paid for it, and I just make movies for them, and I can keep writing it and control. And it can be a little bit different than movie theaters because it's streaming. So he's done a bunch of this. He did like the Halloween one. He's done those ones with Jennifer Aniston, the one where they're the married couple, and they do the murder mystery one, and it's been a bunch of ones that he's done, and they've been really successful on Netflix. And in the end, it looks like he showed a lot of business acumen and noticed something and said this could be the way of the future. And God damn if he wasn't right. And his movies have been outstanding. They've been doing, they break records for viewership on stuff like that. So, he knows his stuff. Now he occasionally, he dips into, like, he did the dramatic film last year. I forget what it's called, from A24. He still does movies in the movie theater, but Netflix is his jam now. He's got a new dramatic film coming out also from Netflix that appeared in this video too, called Hustle. I didn't know anything about it. It's like he's teaching a white guy how to play basketball, but it seems like a more dramatic sort of Adam Sandler film than expected. So that looks interesting. I don't think I would watch it, but that is, still he's smart about doing that. Another actor, and that's why I came up with this, who saw that and said, I see what Sandler's doing, says I'm going to do this too, is Kevin Hart. His movies were huge for a while, and then they've sort of gone down tubes. So he's done a couple of movies for Netflix as part of his deal. Well, he's got a new one now with Mark Wahlberg called Me Time. So there is that one. They have the first views of that one, and that looks like that him and Mark Wahlberg are like guys that try to teach up people on how to be, get better and stuff like that. So that looks kind of interesting. There was an animated film, looks like, called The Sea Beast, that looks really, really cool. There was another animated film that they showed, which I didn't catch the name of real quick. And then there's a couple other movies. Like there's a Korean movie in there that looks like it could be kind of big. And there were some other films that popped up. And the last one that got me was, it took me a second, and I had to rewatch the it's not Cox, then it'd be Louis Dreyfus then, I think. Yeah, I don't think it's Cox. I think it's Louis Dreyfus. I'll have to double check that, or Cox. I mentioned this a while back that Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill and Julia Louis-Dreyfus were going to be working on a film together for this, I think, black female director. And not a lot of information. It was a comedy. Not a lot of information was brought up about it. But apparently it's been filmed. And I believe this is the one they were talking about. And I'm not 100% certain because I gotta, let me see if I can see if Wikipedia has this. See if I was right the last time because I don't want to get yelled at as being like a flatulating Muppet. Okay. Okay, good. I was wrong about one, but yeah, this is the one that I was talking about. So they finally showed the first clips of this one called You People, and it's going to star Eddie Murphy, Jonah Hill, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Mike Epps, Nia Long, Rhea Perlman, David Duchovny. Those are the big names right there. And to me, it looks like it's a film about a white guy played by Jonah Hill, who is going to be is dating or eventually going to be marrying maybe a black woman played by, it looks like maybe Nia Long possibly. And Nia Long is too old for him, so that she's probably playing the mother. But by an actress or whatever, I don't know her name. And the parents are meeting, and Eddie Murphy plays the father of, and I assume probably Nia Long is probably the mother of the black female who is in is seeing this white guy played by Jonah Hill. And he looks like he's some sort of religious sort of fanatic Eddie Murphy is. Could be like a Muslim sort of thing, whatever. And then the parents of the white of Jonah Hill are David Duchovny and Julie Louis-Dreyfus, which is really funny also to consider. And there's this shot they show is the two of them meeting for dinner for the first time. You're seeing Jonah Hill in like a full beard with his girlfriend. And then you have Jonah Hill playing basketball and Eddie Murphy like filming him. And he's like, "You film me?" I was like, "Yeah, just for my own personal thing." It was like, whatever. So it looks kind of funny and different. So that could be, a take on an interracial couple, and it's got a really fantastic cast. That one probably will not be seen probably till, I would assume that would be like the perfect Thanksgiving dinner almost, or Thanksgiving movie to come out during that time. And there's going to be some others. Like I know the new Christmas, the Kurt Russell Christmas movie. There's a third one possibly coming out this year. So this is just a slight touch. So maybe these are the ones the first half of the year, and they're going to do some for the second half of the year. They just picked and choose certain ones, or they didn't have, or the other ones haven't started, whatever. But regardless, it's a really good look. And as I said, there's a bunch of other ones that I missed, but those are the big highlights that I noticed in this. So definitely take a look at it and see for yourself, because Netflix has got some good shit coming up, and it's impressive. All right, I'm going to try to blow through this stuff. So try to finish within the 2-hour period. I got 15 minutes, so I say I can do this. We don't talk about Bruno. The hit song from Encanto is the second Disney song to hit #1 on the Billboard Top 100. The first being Whole New World, which was a pop version sung by two musicians and not the song from the movie. It's the same song, but sung by pop musicians that went over the end credits. That was #1 on Billboard. And this one, we don't talk about Bruno, which is the cast singing it as the #1 song in the United States right now. February 1st was the beginning of Chinese New Year. It's the year of the tiger. So Happy New Year for that. Golden Corral in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, ran out of steak, and a fight erupted over it. So, gotta love white people. Comics-wise, back in the 90s, back when, you had the hottest characters were like Venom and Spider-Man and Wolverine and the Hulk and Ghost Rider and all that stuff, they did a 4-part series called the New Fantastic Four. That was in the middle of the Fantastic Four series where the Fantastic Four disappeared, and they had to have 4 heroes come together, and be called the Fantastic Four. I don't quite remember the setup for it, but it was a popular enough group. Art Adams did the artwork for either the covers or for the story. I don't remember. So that made it even more of a big deal. And it was Wolverine, Spider-Man, the Gray Hulk, and Ghost Rider. And so Peter David, who's one of my favorite writers, who unfortunately announced that he has really bad kidney disease and he's going to need to get a kidney removed or go on dialysis or something like that. He announced that today. He's writing this mini series, which is reuniting the Fantastic Four, the new Fantastic Four. Now I'm thinking it's going to be similar to his Symbiote Spider-Man series that he's been written, these 5-issue mini series that take place during the time where Spider-Man was possessed by the Venom symbiote, and he's doing stories that have not been told before with beautiful Greg Land artwork and just a fun story in general. Fun stories, I should say. There's been 3 or 4 different ones. So I don't know if he's going to be doing something similar with this new Fantastic Four, having more adventures during the time frame when they were during that Fantastic Four time frame. So you're going to see stuff from the 90s and not present day, or if this is the present day characters joining up together, we won't know till it comes out. So that's a good one as well. There's a new Star Trek spinoff called Starfleet Academy coming to Paramount Plus. So Star Trek is, there's a time where there's always Star Trek everywhere. Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, were all over the place, and then they all sort of dissipated a little bit, and then they started to come back now with Picard and the Discovery and Prodigy, and now we have Starfleet Academy, which is a long time coming. People have been wanting a Starfleet Academy series for a while. Now we're finally going to get one. The longest lightning bolt in history was 477 miles long over 3 states. I don't know. I just found that interesting. I didn't know that, and they just announced it. But someone just popped up on my feed recently, so I don't know why that happened, but that's where it is. Nashville hot Cheetos are going to be a new type of Cheetos. We've already got the cheddar jalapeno popcorn from Cheetos, and now we're going to have Nashville hot Cheetos coming out as well. Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, something like that, are going to be getting Fortnite skins on February 10th. I'm not a big fan of either of them, so I won't be getting them, but apparently they are a big deal, so people are going to be getting that. NASA is going to retire the International Space Station by 2031 and crash it into the Pacific Ocean, so we still got some time with it, but it ain't going to be there for long. I already talked about Netflix, but the other thing that Netflix announced this week was the remaining cast to that 90s show, which I talked about a while back, which is a spinoff of that 70s shows, which has Kurtwood Smith, and I can't remember, but the actress who played Kitty is in it as well. And they're going to have the daughter of Eric and his wife. My mind doesn't say. Come to stay with them for the summer, and it's in the 1990s, and it's her grandparents, and her name is Leia, by the way, which is funny. So it's going to be a 10 episode series, and it has just a cast of people I don't know any of them and stuff like that. So it's going to be young cast, interesting like that. Speaking of that as well, a Grease prequel called The Rise of the Pink Ladies is finally revealed their cast as well. It is going to be a 10 episode series as well on Paramount Plus, which takes place 4 years before the actual Grease movie does. So it'll be a 1950s sort of setting, and it shows how the Pink Ladies came to be. So got that coming out soon. A niece explains how her QAnon insane aunt, who was talking about all the conspiracy theories and believed all this stuff, like John F. Kennedy Jr. was going to come back and Trump won the election and all that bullshit, how she was saved by BTS, the K-pop band that's hugely popular. Apparently, this woman, her aunt, had been retweeting and talking about all this QAnon bullshit, and her niece was kind of worried about her because it was not the aunt she remembered. Her aunt she remembered when she was younger was a sweet, kind, sort of liberal sort of take, and then all of a sudden she just reverted to this QAnon a-hole, as cultists usually do. You get involved in a cult, they're going to mind wipe you. But it was thanks to BTS, because she was a fan of BTS. Like the aunt was. I mean, my wife is a fan of BTS, and they're older, but they watch the videos and they know the names of the singers and their families and what they like. And my wife watches the videos all the time and loves them. My daughter doesn't even really like them that much, but my wife does. So it makes sense, that this, aunt, an older lady, likes this kind of stuff too, and she was seeing all the stuff that they were doing. They're pro Black Lives Matter, and they give lots of money to non-privileged people, and they help out people, and they stand for love and kindness and stuff like that. And it was the BTS music that cleared out the QAnon mind fucking, for all intents and purposes, and reverted her back to her liberal self that the niece had recognized before. So you got to give BTS a hand for that. And maybe that's something we need to do. Maybe we need to have BTS do a tour of the United States and just hit all those southern states down there. Maybe we can get some of these QAnon fuck faces to revert to being back to normal. That would be wonderful, because they're fucking everything up for everybody. Home stretch. Valentine's Day is coming up, as I said, and if you want to get a sexy gift for your loved one or whatever, there is Disney Princess lingerie available now. And being a male, I wanted to see what they looked like, and they had it on beautiful models, and it's sexy. But it's kind of interesting, is that how's Disney going to react to that? But there is, and it's not like the characters on it; it's the colors that the characters, the main colors of the characters from the movies, that's the color of the bras and the panties and stuff like that. And they even have some of like the old school ones like Snow White and Cinderella and stuff like that. They've got some of those, and they've got like the evil stepmother from Snow White has a lingerie thing also. So it's kind of interesting to see all that. Mattel is announcing that their Masters of the Universe toys, the He-Man and She-Ra's and stuff like that, will now have Latino, Black, and Asian characters as well, so they can have representation, and kids of those races can have toys that they can play with as well. And hey, regular people can play with them as well, and that's awesome. A Paris family has to pay 1.6 thousand pounds of a bedroom tax after their kids leave, have grown up and are leaving to live in their own house, stuff like that. So the bedrooms that are in this person's house now are no longer occupied by people and are now subject to taxing. What the hell is going on in Paris? That doesn't make any freaking sense, but whatever. All last summer, I was leading up to summer, I should say, and then it was like somewhat during the summer. I was always talking about all these different sort of inflatable stuff that you could do in pools and lakes and stuff like that. They have all kinds of crazy stuff. Well, it's starting up again now with a 10-foot inflatable deck hangout. It's a 10-foot inflatable that you float up, and you can fit like 4 or 5 people on it, and your coolers and stuff like that. And it looks like a deck, like a deck you see at the beach or lake, whatever, and you hang out on there and you just drift around in this 10-foot long inflatable thing. Halo released they have a series coming out. They released, I think it's on Apple Plus. They released their full trailer, and it looks really, really good. Surprisingly good how good it looks, actually. And again, I don't have Apple Plus, but it could be one that could be a hugely popular sort of show coming up. It looks like it's got all the markings to be hugely popular, so why not? Krispy Kreme is having their heart-shaped donuts again. They've come in 4 different flavors, so you can probably pick them up now. My wife brought a heart-shaped donut from Dunkin' to me today. It was really good, a brownie batter one, which was really, really good. American McGee was something big when I worked at Diamond back in the early 2000s. It was sort of a horror version of Alice in Wonderland with some crazy designs. They were part of McFarlane Toys and stuff like that. And it was a video game, I think, also. Well, they're going to be releasing a TV show by David Hayter. I don't know if it's going to be live action or animated, but they got one coming up, is in the works right now, so that's interesting. Wordle, which my wife has been playing religiously, and you see all over your Facebook and Twitter feeds, stuff like that, was bought out by the New York Times, which is kind of odd that they would buy something like that, but here we are. I can't read that. Cosmic Brownie ice cream and other Little Debbie snack treat flavors are now out and available. So if you like those, you can go pick them up right now. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre released their first trailer. That's going to be on Netflix. Again, as I said, Netflix, they didn't have this in their what's coming video, but this is a movie that's coming out on the 18th. And it's for fans of horror. It's taking a similar trope that the Halloween movies are taking, where they bring back the original survival girl from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre coming back to the House of Horrors she got away from 40, 50 plus years ago, and is intent on seeing if Leatherface and his family is still around. Meanwhile, a group of influencers on Instagram are taking a bus trip to this town also, and they discover that Leatherface is in fact still around, but he's a lot older and a lot slower, but he's still vicious and stuff like that. So still your typical sort of horror film. So it looks a little bit not as dark as some of the other remakes that they've done of it, but it's there, and there you go. Elvira, who was a great horror host show, has done a lot. I read her autobiography last year. There is actually a salt and pepper set where the salt is one boob and the pepper is the other boob, and you take that off and you put it on your salt and pepper. So that's kind of a interesting take on things. I don't know what that says. Guy rates Marvel movies by how many trains they have. That's kind of a interesting take on how they're grading films, which means one of their favorites was Captain Marvel because there's lots of trains in that. In fact, the whole scene takes place on a train. Shang-Chi's another one that they liked. Oh, that was a bus. I'm sorry. But it was like Iron Man was a 0 out of 10 because there were no trains in it, type of stuff. So it's kind of a neat look at some stuff. Two men were arrested for shooting at each other, and both were wearing bulletproof vests, but they were shooting each other maybe to see if it worked. Of course, they were drinking, so that's the reason why they were doing that. Let's see if I can read these last two. Oh, yeah, the Scream, that's right. The Scream reboot surpassed $100 million at the global box office. So we have another big hit from the Scream world, so that's pretty good. That was the last one I had an issue with. And let's see, let's make sure it was the other one. Did I just skip that one? No, I figured it out. Okay, so I figured out everything. So the last story that we're going to talk about today, and just right about the 2-hour mark, is in time for your summer barbecues. If you like charcoal and you like flavored stuff, the cumin chili charcoal is now available with cumin chili flavored charcoal that'll get the flavors onto your meat as you charcoal it. All right, I'm going to try that beat the 2-minute mark. Thanks for watching. Next week's going to be a big show, so stay tuned for that. Bye.